If you work in university maintenance, Granger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Granger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRANGER, visit Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
There are heroes and there are legends. Heroes come and go. Legends never die. We usually say that you cannot become a legend before death. These are living legends. If the legends fall silent, who will teach the children of our ways? Sun Coaches Podcast, Season 5, brought to you by Titan Sensor, is proud to present The Legends. Sun Coaches is proud to partner with Titan Sports for the next 4 seasons on Sun Coaches Podcast. Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X at Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, and today we've got a great guest with us. If you've been coaching in North Florida or South Georgia, he's a legend. You know him. If you don't, you should. He's about to go be the assistant to the head coach at Reinhardt University. Coach Rob Armstrong, thanks for being on with us.
Coach, I appreciate it. Like I told you when you asked me if I could do it, man, I feel like this is the star in my crown here, getting to come on here and talk to you, especially seriously, Coach, with some of the guys that you've already had on or going to have on. I am tickled to do it.
Well, Coach, let's go way back. You've been doing it for 34 years. You're going to have to see how much of your Alzheimer's has kicked in, and just tell everybody, where you started, how you grew up, where you grew up, that kind of thing.
Coach, when you start going over resumes or start talking about places folks being, I don't know who, me, you, or Bubba Brown, has the most stops, but that's what I always try to do when we go somewhere with new people is get Bubba Brown to quote his resume. But I'm from Graceville, Florida originally, and played for Coach Fowler there, and went to school at Troy, played ball at Troy. Not the Troy now, but Troy back in the day was a different animal that had folks like me, and got done there, came back to Graceville and got to work for Coach Fowler. And I tell people as we go on and talk, every head coach I've ever worked for, but my buddy Gardner, has won a state championship while I've been there. And, that's, tell a lot of young coaches all the time, Coach, that don't worry about where you're at, just go somewhere you can learn. And, going back and working for Coach at Graceville, great experience. Matter of fact, Mercer football's got their golf tournament in a couple of weeks, and Coach Fowler is playing in that thing with me at 76 years old. So I'm looking forward to that. So anyway, came back, worked at Graceville. Bill Wiles came in when Coach Fowler took over as the principal, and got to work with Bill Wiles for several years at Graceville there. And the thing about Coach Wiles, if it wasn't for Bill Wiles, I'd be pumping gas somewhere, if they still do that. Great football coach all the way around, program guy, learned so much from him. He gave me a lot of responsibility at a young age, and he left. And I tried to get out of it. We won it, played for another one, try to get a couple jobs, couldn't get them. And so it came down to, I had to, I had to take the job, but now it was a pretty good situation because he left a ton of talent. Graceville back in the day, probably, per capita got more NFL folks than anywhere. So took over there and lost in the semis my last there. And then I moved on. I was the OC down at Mosley in Panama City a year. After we made the playoffs there, I was tired of waiting on somebody else to turn the lights off. I got spoiled being the head coach. So then I left and took a job at Freeport High School as the head coach at Freeport. Now, I don't know if you know much about Freeport, but you guys that come, if you come down 331 to the beach, Freeport's that place you stop at the red light there with the subway. But never won a playoff games. Been to playoffs one time in the history of the school before we got there, and I think they'd won like 3 games in the past 5 years. So first year we go 2-8. Second year we got a better team, got a chance to make some noise. Lose the first game of the year, down 14 at the half, come back and lose 28-21. So Sunday, and this is a true story, Coach. Sunday we're in church and getting ready to leave. We're walking out and the preacher says, "Coach, hate we lost, but I sure was glad to see us open it up in the second half." And you know how that hit me, because you can imagine. So as we're going out, I shook his hand and turned around. I was like, "I tell you what, preacher, let's mix in some New Testament." And my wife, Amber, she cried for an hour. We can never go back to church there. But the thing is, I didn't start it. I'd have never told him that. He could have stayed in the Old Testament for weeks, But I mean, if we gonna do each other's job, I'm gonna help him out. so anyway, she's we had to find another church and all that was good. But being there and still being, I became a head coach at like 27 years old. So I was, like 29 at the time at Freeport. And we made the playoffs, and it was a good run there. From there, I left and went up the road to Walton High School, which is the bigger school in Walton County. Now, you talking about those people in Freeport? They thought that we were going to retire, at Freeport. Amber worked. That was when she was just starting out in the loan business, and she was working at Regions there in town. Of course, the market wasn't near as good then as it is now down there. We might still be there, but anyway, so left. Well, anyway, superintendent's race, my superintendent lost, new guy comes in. He calls me to the county office one day. He's like, "Coach, you're going to be the head coach at Walton High School." And of course I said, "Yes, sir." I was thinking back to the 80s with Dexter McNabb and Myrick Anderson, Ed Robinson, all those NFL guys at Walton. I thought, well, we win a state championship. We get up there, and if we can win at Freeport, we can sure win up there. So go to Walton and bought T-shirts for the year. Always had a saying on the back. Well, if you know that area, you know that the Funiac Springs Walton High School is on I-10. And then everybody you play, Chipley, Bonifay, Pensacola Catholic, Mariana, that whole league, that whole region is on I-10. So the shirts were supposed to say "Win I-10." When they got there, they said "Win 1-10." So I should have burnt them suckers then, because we ended up winning one game.
Oh no!
And so we went 1-9. Of course, we lost the scrimmage, so that made us made the shirt prophetic or whatever. But the only win was we beat the mess out of Arnold High School, brand new school in Panama City, in double overtime. Through, of course, we're handing it off and punting, and got down there in overtime, and it's like 3rd and 20 from, whatever yard line that would have been to be, down there on the goal line in overtime. So sprint out, throw it up in the end zone. Kid catches it, touchdown, flag on the field, flag's on us. So they back us up 10 yards for holding whatever it was. So they're like, "Well, what are we going to do, Coach?" I said, "Well, I don't know another play. That won't work. Do it again." So we did it again, and we scored and won the game. And all 40 of us that were there tried to get them goalposts that night down there in Panama City. But that was our one win there. After after that year, Coach, and that's about, you and I have known each other for several years, and I had known you before then because you were I kind of used you to keep up what was going on in the area, knowing that I needed to get that way, being young and my priorities were football at the time. So that's about when McPherson went to Lowndes. Actually, you know how that whole deal went, that Mac thought he was going to be an assistant, was going to go with somebody else. And I'd already told Mac, look, if you go, I'm in. Put me at a middle school, do whatever. So Mac ends up getting the job. So he called. That was a Saturday morning. That was such a weird deal. When Coach Miller retired, they'd already had spring. And it was in April on a Saturday morning when he got approved. Well, he calls me. He said, Robbie, I need you to be at West Side School Monday morning to run the weight room. That was when they were renovating the old field house. So I hear this Saturday, I got a new job starting Monday. I got to go tell my boss, who's my good friend, Mike Davis, the principal at Walton, that I'm leaving. So I walked, and he's at T-ball practice. His kids are, 30 years old now, but he's at T-ball practice with the twins. So I walked through the gate, and I can't say, because, this is a family show, I can't say what Mike said to me when I walked out there. Something along the lines, Coach, that, where are you going? Yeah. And I said, man, McPherson just called. He got the job. He needs me. He's like, can you give me 2 weeks? I said, no, I got to be there Monday. So he's like, well, I wish I could go with you, Coach. Good luck. So, and that time at Lowndes, being at Graceful and, Graceful in the 80s and 90s when I was a player and a coach, with the talent that we had in, single A football. I mean, it was, there's so much as a young coach you take for granted that when you go to a place like Lowndes, you better be detailed and you better go back over it, and you better know where every defender, as an offensive guy, you better have a hat for everybody. You better have an answer. So just learning so much about the game and the people you played against, and with the staff that they had there. We brought in some great guys at Lowndes, but like you and I were talking before we went on about Randy Hill, about Bill Cribb, about Hiram Johnson. I mean, and here I am, 29 years old, having a chance, to be the OC at Lowndes High School and work with all these guys. And of course, it doesn't hurt that, the players we run out there. So all that was good. Another thing about Lowndes, everybody asked about, offensively. I said, well, I can tell you this. We didn't give up a point in 5 years at Lowndes on offense. There's something to be said for that. You think about it, Coach, the worst thing that can happen is that defense not to be on the field and give up a point. So we shut a lot of people out when I was calling plays. So I'm proud of that. But my time there was one of the best jobs I ever had. There's a couple of head coaching jobs I had since then, but now at that time, that was so much fun. And Amber and I didn't have Kurt and Case at the time. Kurt was born, in the last couple of years there. When Case was coming, we knew it was time to get closer to home. But those 5 years there were a blast. And we can't even all the people and all the stories, from Lowndes. That'll have to be part 2 of the show. But after, and I'll tell you, like Coach Mack, what I learned, like I was telling you earlier, Coach, working for Phil Fowler at Graceful, the guy that won a state championship, working for Bill Wiles, who won a state championship at Graceful in '93, and then working for Mack, who, with all the success he had, I mean, you need a lot of times, and like young guys.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Victory Lane? Yeah, it's even better with Chumba by my side. Race to ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
It worked for me. You find out a lot what not to do. But working with those guys, you could just take any of them's their plan, the way they dealt with kids, the way they dealt with people in town, and just run with it. And I was so blessed to have that opportunity with Mac. Well, anyway, when Case, my youngest, was born, I was ready. I felt like I knew way more than McPherson. I was ready to take a job, try to get a couple jobs. As you know, I've interviewed everywhere in the state of Georgia. So didn't work out. Came back to Marianna. Randy Ward was the principal at Marianna, he had been an assistant for me at Graceville. And somehow he got to Amber and was like, look, Case is coming. You got this job. We got a big time running back. So anyway, we moved home and loved it. Made the playoffs twice. Ran into a team you might have heard about both years. That's Madison County. Now, if you don't know Madison County, don't schedule them. I don't care how many years that's been. That was in, Coach, what year would that have been? 2009, 2010, maybe somewhere in there, 2008, 2009. Don't schedule Madison to this day, because not only are they going to beat you, they're going to hurt you. But won a lot of games, made the playoffs at Marianna for the first time in 10 years. And, it happened that, again, superintendent change, fired Randy. Only reason I'd left a great job like Lowndes to come to Marianna was Randy Ward. Now he's out. So, took another job at Shipley High School, took it after July the 4th. It was like July the 6th. Now, during my time at Marianna, I was lucky enough to hire my defense coordinator that stayed with me, that we're still together now. Gardner's going to be working at Reinhardt, coaching the secondary. Barry Gardner, who's from Bonifay, played at Delta State. But the way I got Gardner, 18, 19 years ago, however long it was, Brunson, my buddy, who I worked for at Baker, was trying to hire him at Crestview. And so I got word of it. So I called Gardner and I was like, look, man, you don't want to go work for Brunson. He's an idiot. You come to Marianna. So it ended up, and, we've been together ever since. A couple years, when I left Delville, Gardner stayed. And then when he was the head coach at Graceville, for the few years he was the head coach at Graceville, the only time that we've been apart since then. But anyway, go to Chipley late July. Chipley was 0-10 the year before. And, we just, luckily they had some good coaches that were there that I'd coached against, being in the area. And most of them were old enough that I was playing when they were already coaching. But anyway, went 5-5 the first year. Third year, we made it to the state championship game, lost to Jefferson County. And the thing about Chipley is if you followed that area at all, that they've always got a good football team. But when they have that, big time tailback, like an Ant Lee, like a Tony Davis, like a Swain, like a Kobe McCrary that played with us, that played at Minnesota, then they're hard to beat. And that we just fell into a good run there, because, the linemen, there's just you can go on and on with the offensive linemen that have come out of there. Derek Balcom at Auburn, John Winnington at Florida State, just Taylor Smeltzer might have been better than both of them. But just the toughness, the football smarts, the overall IQ of those kids. I mean, first thing is you couldn't, if you practice at 5 o'clock in the morning, you practice at 7 o'clock at night. They were all there and all ready to go. It is just great work ethic. And just, again, like I was talking about Lowndes being a great job, Chipley was probably the best job that I ever had as a head coach. And, I hate to say that coming from Graceville, but Graceville and Chipley kids are a lot alike because of their toughness and their smarts. And it was a good fit. Well, about that time, we had some success. So I figured it was time to move on after 3 years. And, took a job, a place you might have heard of, is Berrien County. And Berrien, Coach, you heard people say this all the time. It's not how good you are. It's how bad other folks are. Well, guess what? The folks in Berrien's region ain't bad.
No.
When we were at Berrien, we had Bass at running back. We had AJ Wooten who started at Central Florida on the D line. I mean, we had some good players, just the region. I mean, the year that I was at Berrien, Thomasville didn't make the playoffs. You know, Fitzgerald was rolling. I think Trey and them at Early County were the 4 seed.
I was
and
at
then,
Early, yeah.
That's right. And
Fitzgerald
Maurice
was getting rolling.
Yeah, Fitzgerald was unbelievable.
Cook was
Thank
good.
goodness. Thank good. Yeah, Cook was good. Cook tried to get 100 on us, you know, that night. I mean, now luckily we got 60, but still that's embarrassing, 100 to 60. You know, especially I claim to be a defensive guy, you know.
Yeah.
But no, that it just that league is so good. That's just hard because we had some guys. I mean, we could have gone, you know, and that's what me and Ted Folsom said about when we were over there is let's petition to get in the rural league in Florida. We can make some noise, but with this schedule, you know, it's tough. And after that year was when Kevin Weston, who played for me at Graceville and who'd been Frankie DeBusky's DC at Tusculum College, got the job at Clark Atlanta. So I go up there to be the OC at Clark Atlanta, take Gardner with me, you know, and we're going to hand it off. And again, same thing. Great kids at Clark Atlanta. People were good to us. Administration was good. But now when you're going out there with what you can get at Clark Atlanta with what they can get at Fort Valley and Albany State and Tuskegee, it's, you know, you're in a knife fight against a cannon. You know, it's not the same. And it made it tough. We did beat Morehouse for the first time in 7 years. Now, you know, it wasn't good for some reason. And Kevin didn't make the schedule. It was made when we got there. We opened up with West Alabama when what's the boys at Southern Miss? His daddy's head coach in Mississippi. Coach, I'll think of his name. I want to say Hall, but it ain't.
Oh, I have no idea.
I'll think of it. Anyway, he was the head coach at West Alabama then. He's at Southern Miss now. And so we open up with them. Luckily, the game's on TV, and Rick Rhodes is announcing the game. Now, you know, Coach Rhodes recruited me at Troy. Of course, he left when I got there, which is a pretty smart move. He went to Southern Illinois. And then he also coached Gardner. Gardner played linebacker at Delta State. And Ron Roberts was the DC at that time. He coached Gardner. And so they were Coach Rhodes was doing the TV, and we're getting hammered. But now that, you know, of course, my folks are watching on TV, and they said the whole time that Coach Rhodes was talking about, you know, give us time, give us stuff. So you better be good to them people. So you never know when you're going to get in the game and get embarrassed, and you need them people to hold your job down. So stayed there a year. Kurt was in 3rd grade. Case was in 2nd. Now, living in Atlanta, you know, being from Graceville, and we ain't got a Walmart. We didn't get a Hardee's until I was a senior in high school. You know, Amber's from even further out in the woods. Amber's, she'll get mad about this, but all I say is the truth. And when I used to go pick up Amber to go somewhere before we got married, if it was raining, I had to leave. She had to leave a car at the hard road and take the tractor to the house because you couldn't get down the road. That's how deep in the woods she lived. Now that's a true story. And so imagine us living in Atlanta, you know, but the school, like kids went to Jackson Elementary. Amber worked in one of them big buildings in Buckhead. That's when she went to Wells Fargo, and that was good for her. You know, I tell her she wouldn't be where she's at without me moving around like this. So I'll make sure when we get this thing, record that and play it for her. I'm responsible for her career. So anyway, it just happened that, and my kids were little. And the thing is, you know, about coaching at that level, you leave the house, it's dark. You get home, it's dark. And that's 7 days a week. And I just, you know, I didn't want to do that. You know, and not to say that Kevin wasn't good to work for. He was, and he tried to give us time. But man, when you get going, when you're recruiting or when it's in the season, it's just hard to be everywhere that a 3rd grader and a 2nd grader are. So left after a year, came back to Panama City Beach, and took a job at Rutherford High School. and stayed there 3 years. And Rutherford, was not the Rutherford of old, Coach. When Harden was there, they'd been down. Now, we won 3 games the first year. Second year, we made the playoffs for the first time in about 10 years. And then the third year, I think we won 1 game, and I got fired. And the thing about that is, you got to stay ahead of them. You'd rather be mad you were leaving than mad you were staying. And that was just one of those deals that I told them that we were going to fix it. I'd be there till we fixed it. And the second year we did make the playoffs, but I couldn't trick the right folks into hiring me at the time. So there it was. And, that was the thing about coming home. My dad died got fired. My daddy died the Wednesday after Thanksgiving. I got fired like the next Friday or whatever. So, at least, got 3 good years coming back with the boys being around their pops and stuff like that. So everything happens for a reason. So after that, I went up to Daleville High School in Alabama. I didn't want to leave out that state, so I wanted to get in over there. And Daleville, and then Daleville, if you know anything about them in the 90s, won it a couple of times, played for it. A lot of NFL guys, right there by Fort Rooker. So you got quality kids. And, Ted Folsom had retired out of Georgia and come over there as an assistant principal. So I had an in. So I took the job, and we made the playoffs, lost to Oakmont out of Birmingham in the playoffs. But the next summer, and this is, end of June also, Brunson, my buddy Matt Brunson, who was at Baker, who I played with at Troy, known for 35 years. And he's like, Robbie, I got a dean's job over here. And won't you come take it? You can be the OC and, be a good gig. Your kids can, that at the time the kids were fixing to start middle school. And I said, well, Brunson, I hadn't really been interested in going into administration or anything like that. And then he told me what it paid. And he's like, I said, you know what? I have been talking about that with Amber. I'm coming. So took the job, and best move I could have made for me, for Kurt, for Case, and for Amber, because, obviously the kids are still there. Case graduates this time. Kurt, graduated last December, signed with Mercer. He's up there, but just the development that both of them made, the coaching they got from the staff at Baker and from Brunson. Man, I tell him all the time, I think he thinks I'm just messing with him, that, I could never repay him for bringing us over there and letting those kids, be Baker Gators. And then with Amber's job, she changed companies when we moved back, and now in the spot she's in. So, I'm sure Brunson will remind me.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Another checkered flag for the books. Time to celebrate with Chumba. Jump in at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
One day that I owe him a lot, but that's kind of how that went. And then, one day I got to thinking, I'm hauling during Kurt's visits. I'm hauling him everywhere, Coach. I'm thinking, why am I still doing this? I can retire. And so retired, and was thinking, all right, I'm just going to bother Kurt's coaches at Mercer, and then, watch Case play a senior year. And Gardner has a chance to go to Reinhardt, and he's like, well, why don't you go? I said, well, we'll talk to Miller. And I guess Miller needs some comic relief or whatever, Coach. He's like, yeah, you're here. And the thing about it is, I don't want to miss Case's games on Friday, and I don't want to miss Kurt's games on Saturday, but I'm going to do everything that Miller don't want to do during the week and recruiting and all that. So it's a pretty good gig for what I need to be doing right now with 2 kids that I need to follow around. So that's, the good Lord looks after drunks and idiots, Coach, and I don't drink. Hey, I'd rather be lucky than good. So that's kind of, see, that didn't take long, Coach. What's that? 30 minutes for, 13 stops or whatever.
Only 13. Well, then I got you beat. Yeah. I thought.
Well,
how
How many schools have you been at?
I think it's 17 now.
Yeah, man, that's impressive. That's good.
Well, no, it's really not.
Let's count them up real quick. Graceful, Mosley, Freeport, Walton, Lowndes, Mariana, Chipley, Berrien, Clark, Rudd is 10, Delville, Baker. Yep, 13.
Yeah, you're at 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I got Aquinas, Worth, Burke, Northmore, Lanier, Turner, Lithia Springs, Richmond Academy, Austin Middle, Temple, Villarica, Crisp, Americus, Early, Hawkinsville, Northside, and Taylor County. I'm at 17.
Man, that's impressive.
Yeah, no, not so much.
That just means I need to get on it.
No. I wouldn't I wouldn't encourage anybody to take the route I've taken. That's why I've kind of taken to trying to help some of these younger guys out. No, I've done, don't do this.
Hey, that's what I was saying earlier. You learn a lot what not to do doing this mess. You probably can get more out of just make a note. I'll never do that.
Well, I remember when I was at Worth County, we went to the Dome, and it was me, my roommate, Stacy Bell, and Lee Hamner. We're all riding together to go to the Dome, and we're on the way back. And it was the year that Shaw and Cairo played that 7-2 game or 6-2 game, whatever it was.
Yep.
So it was 01 or 2000. Anyway, and Stacy said, he looked back at both of us and said, y'all need to make sure as y'all, go in this profession that you always go somewhere that you give yourself a chance to play in that game. I didn't listen. I didn't. No. I didn't do that.
And that's good.
I never got to play in that game.
and that's good advice. That's good.
Great advice.
Because everywhere can't play in that game, and I didn't take that either. I mean, but how many jobs? Just thinking back, and a lot of those Florida schools you don't know that much about, but trust me, there's some of them that weren't very successful before we got there. And that's the thing. If you do that, if you do that, you take jobs like that, folks aren't going to say, well, they didn't win a game before he got there and he won 4. All they're going to say is he won 4 games. So.
Well, I didn't, if I'd have had a brain in my head, I would have gone and been the toilet cleaner at Buford when they were single A.
Yep.
Or there's a couple of places that I really enjoyed that I should have just stayed there and just become that guy. Yeah. And I didn't for one reason or the other. Now, I don't regret, I only have one professional regret, and it has nothing to do with, I was offered a GA job at Duke way long time ago for Duke baseball. And that's the only professional regret I have because like me and you were talking earlier, I wouldn't have met the people I've met. I wouldn't know the people I know, and I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't done, made all the moves that I've made. No, so I don't regret any of that. I believe you're where you're supposed to be.
No, and I'll tell anybody that. That's, I was, kid about a lot of stuff, but that is serious. The folks we've made and the friendships and the relationships at every stop, the folks that we still, when we do get a chance to see them, it's like family, man. That's what's made it so much fun. And it never seemed like work. All the time I was doing it, it never seemed like I was going to work. I'm getting up, man, because I don't want to miss nothing. There ain't no telling what's going to happen. Whether that's February or right in October. Right. And, that's what I tell my two. Kurt says he wants to go into coaching. The youngest case, I don't know. I was like, whatever you do, you make sure it's something where you don't feel like, oh, crap, man, I got to get up and go do this. It's something where you look like I get to go do this. And I've done that, forever, still doing it, because I could not be doing it, but I feel like that I hate to, if Gardner and Miller are up here doing it, I hate not to to be with them and have a chance. I don't want to miss nothing. I don't want them to call me and tell me about it. I want to be the one calling and telling about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would have missed, seeing a snake come in my offensive group the other day on Tuesday. I would have missed that. That was something serious right there. That was.
All right. What kind of snake was it?
It was just a rat snake.
Okay, but it don't matter. Hey, that's what there ain't but two kind of snakes, live or dead.
Yeah,
it don't matter because I can have a heart attack from whatever kind.
Half of them wanted to eat it, and the other half didn't. Were squealing like a bunch of little girls.
I don't mess with snakes.
I don't like them either, but it was funny. I mean, we had to kind of stop and get him going in a different direction, and somebody suggested we take a water break at that point in time.
Yeah, well, that's the three things in this business is you got to have knowledge, you got to be able to communicate, you got to be flexible. That's right there where you need to be flexible right there.
Luckily, we practice on the bottom field. He kind of sends me down there with the OL and just like, go away. Just come up here when I call you. I don't really care what y'all do down there. Just make sure they know what to do when they get up here. So I'm looking around going, we can get some water right now. You're good.
No, that's and that's good coaching is what that is.
No, that's just trying to put out a fire with a pail of water,
but
a forest fire with a bucket.
Now the thing about it too, I was thinking about this as you were talking earlier, Coach, too, is think about, we was talking about the different people you've met and different people that I've got to be around. That's like all the folks that that I know. You're talking about like living with Coach Miller's son, and then through the years, the folks that we might have text or talk once every other year or whatever whenever I'm trying to get you to help me on the job or whatever. But still, all the circle, they still overlap with just the folks
Oh, it's insane. I mean, I was going to ask you about being at Little House because I know when you coached the Lounge, you had to go to Little House.
Yeah, but now, I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
Yeah, I mean, Little House was across the lake, Indian Head Lake, from where Milt lived.
All right, see now, go ahead.
So that was cool.
Go ahead.
That was cool.
All right, Little House, and see, when I moved, I went in April, so I bought a house with Amber never seeing it. Now, of course, 2 years later, we moved over on Francis Lake to the golf course. But now I bought a house over there, not, a couple streets over from the Little House. And we stayed there 2 years till Amber had enough. And then we, like I said, moved to Francis Lake, not too far from Randy and Margie. But anyway, going down there on Friday night with those folks, I mean, that was a cultural experience for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was as a young coach, because when Milt would have his Christmas party and he put out like a flyer, like it was like official. It was like, you kill it, we'll grill it. We'll have a whiteboard, chalkboard, there's an outlet mall. The women can go shop if they want to.
Yep.
And, and then all these people just start showing up and you're like, it's a who's who of, Georgia coaching legends, North Florida coaching guys that, everybody, Ray Goff shows up and you're like, and as a young guy, you're like, oh my God, there's so-and-so.
That's the same thing. When I went over there in 2002, 20, 29 years old or whatever, and going off with Coach Hill or, Milt was working for Gilman, so he'd be wherever. And then all these folks, all these like you mentioned Coach Pilcher earlier, or some of those other guys, Butts or some of those
Buddy
guys.
Sorrow.
Buddy. Those guys will be coming up, and they all got speak to Milt, so you get to meet them all just from being there. And that, as a guy that had followed football, where all these folks had been, and you knew what they'd done. I mean, funny about going to Lowndes after Coach Miller is when Coach left, I guess after 94 is when he went to Lowndes. He left Worth after 94, somewhere in there. We had won it in 93 at Graceville, lost in the finals in 94, and Coach Wiles interviewed for the Worth job. And we had some film. I'm going to tell you right now, that's the best high school defense I've ever seen was that 94 Worth defense. I mean, they were good. I guess Robbie and them, before he came to Fitzgerald at Union County, when he had Andrew Zal and the big boy that played defensive line NFL, that they were the same caliber. But at that point, that group, that was amazing to watch, and just get now finally stand there and meet all these people that you know known about over the years. You know, like we was talking about Maurice earlier, and you know, with him going to Delville, I talked to him a couple of times because he's not too far. In '93, when the first time we beat University Christian in the playoffs, he had played them during the regular season, so we got the film from him. Well, I knew him from Calvin Giles from Graceville, who played quarterback at FAMU when Coach was playing over there. So it's just, you know, all these names like you throw out and you run into it. You know, to me, you know, there's that you can't put a number on it. You know, you can't say how much that's worth. The folks we've got to get to know over the year.
No, it's pretty awesome when you sit back and think about it, you know, all the people that you've met and the people you've gotten to be around. And I mean, just sitting around listening to them tell stories, and, you know, I'm trying to round them up to get them to be on here now. And that's like herding cats. 'Cause they're like, you're an idiot. I'm not going to be on there with you. And I'm like, no, this isn't about me. I'm going to let you tell your story. I'm just going to sit back and go, hey, and then what happened? You know? and no offense, Coach, but you got me on here. So now you see where you rate, you know. So no,
if you want to find an idiot, just look for another one, right?
You're gonna be like DeBreeze was when he was like, well, how many downloads am I gonna, you know, what you're releasing me during the dead week? And I was like, Coach, you're going to be fine. His hasn't even been out a week. He's already at 250 downloads after 1 week. So every other day I go, all right.
Drew McIntyre here from WWE. Wielding the Claymore can be a life of chaos. When I'm not dominating in the ring, Chumba Casino is how this warrior takes a wee break. With hundreds of online social games and new weekly releases, there's always something fresh to try. And those daily boosts, next level. Even my free time feels like Valhalla. So when life feels like a battle, kick up your feet, have some fun, and let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T's and C's. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
Hey, Coach, you're at this number. So I hadn't told him yet, but he's at 250 already after just 1 week.
Put me out during the dead week.
Yeah, he was like, "You're putting me out during the dead week." And I was well, Coach, when do you think people are going to listen to it? And
that was you know, when you asked me originally, you know, I said I'd do it. We'd record it on Thursday. I was thinking, man, that's the weekend. You know, if I'm being honest with you, like, man, that ain't gonna get. Nobody's gonna care. But, yeah, you're still releasing it on Thursday. So.
No, I release it every Tuesday and Thursday, and I try to stay a week ahead. Like I got Brad Wagner. Because me and him got rained out. Yes, we got rained out on a podcast twice.
How does that happen?
Lightning storms.
Okay.
Like I had it scheduled, and freaking wrath of God came rolling through Southern Hills.
Hey, that's God. That's God. That's God telling you not to talk to B-Wag.
And then he was like, "It's lightning down here too."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, dude, I'm not getting on with all this equipment." And with my luck, that's. I know I don't get eaten by a shark, because I don't get in the ocean, and I know I don't die from my parachute not opening because I don't jump out of airplanes. Yeah. So, but I could get struck by lightning. That's on the table. But
I'm mad at Wagner because I was living through him, Coach, up there in the mountains.
Yes, he was my retirement plan.
I mean, every time that sucker put out, you know, mountains behind that stadium and everything, and I'm saying, how good is this,
Coach? We went we took my parents for Thanksgiving 2 years ago to Gatlinburg, and I called, or I texted him. He was like, "Hey man, come by and see my place, you know, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Man, I'd love to." So I go in there and I tell my wife, and she don't care. Rachel's like, "Yeah, do whatever." And my mom was like, "I don't think you understand. We have one car, and you are not about to leave me and Rachel without a car." And my dad, he don't care. He's hanging out with Grayson. He's like, "I don't care. Yeah. We can sit in this log cabin all day. You know, we can care. Just tell us when we eat." You know, he don't care. And my mom was like, "You are not about to leave us up here on the side of this mountain with no car. So your buddy can come get you, or you cannot go see his place. It is a freaking football field. You've seen one. You've seen them all." And I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." I mean, what else do you say? I mean,
I know. Yeah.
Yes,
you're in a bad spot. So B-Wag came and got you.
No. No, we determined that for my health, it would be better if we
you worked out a compromise. That's good.
Because unlike the rest of y'all, I'm not a beach guy. I mean, I get sunburnt in the dark. I mean, the sun hates me.
Yeah.
And I like the mountains. So I was like, yeah, man, when I retire, I'm coming to the mountains, blah, blah, blah. And then, a couple of weeks, ago, he's like, I'm going to Bluntstown. I was like, you're what?
Yeah. And when I first heard that, man, I bet you I called 10 people. I'm like, man, I can't get this job, but you can. Why don't you go get this thing and we'll go, Go. Somebody we know's got to hold the spot for us.
Well, how do you know Bo Johnson? Because he loves him some Coach Armstrong.
Bo is a great American.
He is.
Bo, go back to his Taylor County days, and that's just Bo not knowing Florida. No offense to Taylor County. Coach.
No, that's what he told us.
He said he had no idea what he was getting into.
Yeah, he thought he was at the beach.
But he took that job, and a lot of those guys down there I've known for a while, and got to know him there. And then when he came to Bluntstown with Greg, got to know him a little bit more. And then when he took over and started whipping us, Bo beat us twice. In 2018, we lost to Madison at Baker in the state championship. And then in 19, Bo beat us during the regular season and put us out in the semis. Then we won it in 2020, thank goodness, but we didn't want no more Bo. So Bo is a dang good coach, and he is a superhuman being. Man, that sucker's fun.
Yeah, he is funny to me. He introduced me to Fog and Frog when he started talking about Chris and Buddy, and they called Chris Fog, freaking old guy. And then they called Buddy Frog, freaking really old guy. I was like, this dude is crazy.
And when you see like weight meets and stuff, they're all three with, but both of them are with him. So, but Bo, we when we were at Baker, we had a good rivalry with them, like coming to weight meets and stuff. It was a contest to see like the kids, coaches who get their picture made with Bo. So we have all these pictures we'd be putting out. You probably seen a little bit of that on Twitter over the years. That's what that was, get your picture made with Bo. Because Bo is, Bo gets in front of that TV camera down there, one of them Panama City stations. It's solid gold, Coach.
Well, he was telling a story about when they went to Toucans one night. One of the coaches was told some woman that he was Bam Bam Bigelow. That was funny to me.
Yes. Yeah. And to hear Bo tell it makes it that much better.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I got behind some guy at the golf course yesterday that looked like the Big Show, and I told him, he goes, well, that's not the first time I've heard that. And I said, well, you can play as slow as you want to, doctor, because we aren't going to say anything.
No, sir. We won't hit up on top of you.
You just let us know. And he just laughed.
Right.
Of course, he was the most soft-spoken, nicest guy. And his last name was Fabrizio. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Wow.
So I tell him about Dean. I'm like, well, y'all have got to be related some kind of way. I mean, how many Fabrizios are there in the planet?
Everybody. You can bet everybody with that name is Kent. For sure.
He was like, I'm from Pennsylvania. But that guy looked just like the Big Show, and he was ginormous. I can't believe he found a set of golf clubs that he could play with.
Right.
But it just reminded me of when he said that he told somebody he was Bam Bam Bigelow. That tickled me. But that just, but again, it goes back to what you said. All of our travels, you meet people like that.
Yep.
And you coach with people like that. And you love people like that. They become your brothers. That's just
you coach with them or you coach against them, and it's and we don't me and Coach Wiles talk about this all the time. His son's grown. My youngest is fixing to be out of school too, and we always say we got to get together. And it'll be 2 or 3 years between times that we see each other. We shouldn't do that, Coach. But. We always say we're going to do it later. Well, we ain't getting no younger.
Well, it's like going to the Nike clinic down in Orlando, and, you see guys down there, that's their reunion. Like, that's the only time they see each other.
Yep.
And it's cool to sit back and watch, those guys get together. And because I'm doing the hospitality room, so I kind of get to sit in there and whatever.
That's right up your alley, isn't it?
Well, it ain't bad. I sit in there, and now that we do the podcast, we have it set up, and I'm basically just sitting in there watching the Golf Channel.
Yeah.
And then when the college coaches come in, I'm like, hey, man, I'm like, the beer's over there. There's liquor over there. There's Cokes. There's food. If you need anything, let me know. And most of them are like, no, Coach, you're good. And then they'll ask, what you got set up right there? And I'm like, oh, I got, the podcast. And they're like, man, I'd love to do it. And I'm like, really? Oh, okay. Because I don't bother them because I could care less. I don't care. What are they going to do? Not hire me? I don't care.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's matter to me. I've got a number, though. I mean, if they're interested, I've got a number.
I heard that.
If they want to recruit Middle and South Georgia, I can help them with that.
Well, that's what all of them. I said, the X's and O's I might not can help you with, but now I can make some folks feel good about themselves when they walk out your door, for sure.
Oh, I told Vince Karras, the DC at Toledo, I told him, I said, I have a room. You are welcome to. I live on a nice golf course. You can come stay here. And Coach, I'm telling you, within a 50-mile radius of where I live in Hawkinsville, you can find kids that can play at Toledo.
Yeah. No, you're not lying.
I mean, I'm not being any kind of way about Toledo, but I'm just saying, we got them. They around here, and you ain't got to go far. They ain't just in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But
hey, Coach, hang on just a second. Did you get your I'm sorry about that, Chris. That was Miller had come out the door, man. I was acting like I was talking about something important. That'll be all good till it comes out and he listens to it, won't it?
No, I'll edit it and cut it back together. No, not a problem.
Okay,
I got editing software. I go in.
I got you.
I can cut that back together. But no, Coach Karras was really good. He's a coach's kid. His dad was the head coach at Grand Valley, and then he was the head coach. He's just like the coolest guy ever. And he actually came, he was speaking right after me, so he listened to me give my talk about how we're going to coach these kids these days. And I'll just basically, hit it off with him, and I text him, every other week. And he actually returns the text, which kind of shocks me. He's like, hey, man, we're good. I'm in Hilton Head. I'm on vacation, or, last 2 weeks he's been on vacation, so that's been kind of cool.
Right.
But, the fact that you make those connections with those peoples
and
at those clinics.
Well, and Coach, like I've said a couple of times already, I mean, just that to me, that's of 34 years of doing this. I mean, we've been blessed to win some games, a bunch of games as an assistant, some games as the head coach, but just the folks, man, that I've had a chance to run into and get to know, it makes it all worth it for sure.
Well, Coach, I'm glad I've gotten to know you, and I'm so thankful that you've been on with us. And if there's anything I can ever do to help you, I don't live far from Mercer. I'm right down the road. If you need a place to stay, I got one. Save you some hotel expense when you come see number one son. Feel free to give me a shout.
That's always good to know. But even if we don't need to stay, just if I need something and can't get nobody, that somebody that
I can get hands on it.
Yeah, exactly. And you know how it is. I mean, he's grown, but still, that's still.
If he needs a home cooked meal that's closer to us than y'all, we can do that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then we are lucky that we have several folks in that area, but one more. And that's why I told Amber. Amber's, always talking about it, me being all these places making everybody mad. I said, we don't make everybody mad. The rule is, Coach, you piss off 10% of the people every year. Well, with me, it's closer to 20. So in 2 years, it's half, but still, I try to look at the positive side. There's half that's still with us.
Well, you got really good numbers. My numbers are flipped. I'm more like 80. But that's okay because, I get it. And I'm okay with it. It doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, you're
Again,
aware.
What are they going to do? Not hire me? They've been not hiring me for 30 years. So it's okay.
That's what all the, I said when I was going over there where I've been, all the the jobs that I've interviewed for in Georgia. If you didn't, it's a good thing I have high self-esteem or something like that would mess me up for life. Being turned down for any stoplight in Georgia that I didn't get.
Well, I don't take myself too seriously. So there's that.
Well, no, and I think that's why me and you get along is you can't do that, man. You got to do the best you can. You got to do what you think's right. And, if that's what they like, go with it. If not, try it somewhere else.
That's right. You were looking for a job when you found this one.
Yeah. And there's telephones and post offices everywhere, Coach. Amen.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, I sure appreciate you being on. And best of luck to you up in North Georgia, Reinhardt. Appreciate it, Coach. I've enjoyed it, man, and look forward to hearing you. You got real folks on here. Thanks, Coach.
Tyler Reddick here from 2311 Racing. Another checkered flag for the books. Time to celebrate with Chumba. Jump in at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See T&Cs. 21 plus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
When you manage procurement for multiple facilities, every order matters. But when it's for a hospital system, they matter even more. Grainger gets it and knows there's no time for managing multiple suppliers and no room for shipping delays. That's why Grainger offers millions of products in fast, dependable delivery, so you can keep your facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.